Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the HVAC Mergers and Acquisition podcast. On this podcast, we're talking about how to prepare your HVAC business to sell and get the best price and best terms, or how to acquire an HVAC company, or maybe how to merge HVAC companies together. So anything HVAC mergers and acquisition related, that's what we intend to cover. Occasionally, we'll have guests on the podcast. We're going to keep these episodes short. So whether you're working out or driving, you can quickly get some content because we know how busy things can get. So today we're going to talk about determining the value of your HVAC company. And this always comes up, right? What is my HVAC company worth? And there's a lot of things that go into that, but we're going to cover one thing specific today, and that's profitability. Your HVAC company is going to be determined based on the profit. Obviously, revenue is important, right? Your sales are important, but it doesn't matter how much sales you have. If your business is not profitable, you're going to have a hard time selling it. So you want to maximize that profit as much as possible. And typically, there are industry multiples that determine the value of your company, right? And those industry multiples, it's kind of a language in mergers and acquisitions. It's multiples. It's like when you go into a neighborhood, right? The square footage of the house may be the same as some other neighborhood, but for whatever reason, one house is worth more than the other, right? And so different industries, HVAC, other industries all have their own multiple, right? So for an HVAC company, typically, if you have below 500,000 in EBITDA, right, which is another form of profit, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, right? Your financial person will know what that is, but it's based on that's basically profit, right? So an HVAC company below 500,000 in EBITDA is going to get about a three times, right? A three times the EBITDA number. So if your EBITDA number is 500,000, it's going to be worth about $1.5 million. This is right now. This is in right now. I'm recording this in the middle of 2024. Now, if the market completely tanks next year, those multiple numbers could change, right? But what won't change is it being a function of profit. So as that profit increases, typically the multiple goes up, right? So your multiple may jump from a 3 to 4 or a 3 to 5 once you hit 1 million in EBITDA, right? It could be higher depending on what part of the country you're located, or if you have a buyer that is very focused in particular area. Sometimes you can get above that. So we're talking kind of on average. Also, it varies depending on your team. If you don't have a team in place, right? Let's say you're doing 500,000 in EBITDA, but you're the only person in the business and you're just working, the job of three people. You're gonna have a hard time selling your company because it all equates to risk, right? So part of that, looking at that profit as that benchmark, goes back to risk, right? The more profitable company, probably the more customers they have, the more team members they have, the more stability they have. So it kind of equates back to a bigger picture when you look at profit. But what you don't want to have is a high profit and you're the only one working in the business, because when if a buyer were to buy your business, you have a hard time selling it, by the way, if you're doing all the work. So if you are doing that, start building out a team. But when a buyer looks at that, if you're not in the business, basically the business doesn't exist, and you don't want to have a business like that. Some people call it a dancing bear business. When the bear stops dancing, there's no business anymore. So yeah, so your profit, it's a multiple profit, and then so you want to increase that profit as much as possible. You want to maintain that team. They're going to look at service contracts as well. They're going to look at that recurring revenue, make sure you have that coming in. And they're going to look at trends, fluctuations in the financials. If your sales and profit increase significantly, that's a good thing, right? If they go down significantly, they're going to, it's more risk, right? They're going to look at why is that going down? So that's a great starting point. There's a lot of different valuation. There's over 100 valuation methods out there. And but this will give you a benchmark to kind of get going, right? So you can probably, this is very rough ballpark, but every $500,000 your business goes up in profit, it may be another point, roughly. So this is something to have in mind. That way, when a buyer reaches out to you, and let's say you have 500,000 in profit, and they say, well, what would you like to receive for your business? And you say $5 million, right? Well, you're never going to get that. It's like going into a certain neighborhood, or maybe you're trying to sell your house, and you say, I want this amount for my house, but no other house in the neighborhood selling for anywhere close to that. It's kind of the same thing. So you want to be in the right ballpark when you're talking to these investors. If not, you won't be able to continue the conversation. They'll just go elsewhere, and you don't want to miss out on great opportunities that way. So keep that in mind. Industry multiples do change, but this should get you started on a rough valuation of what your business looks like. Anything that's not operationally related, like personal expenses and that sort of thing that you run through the business, those can count towards profit as well, by the way. So if you're looking to sell your business and certain things that are run through the business aren't going to be run through the business anymore, those things can count towards profit. That'll be called adjusted EBITDA. So hopefully you found this helpful, and stay tuned for future episodes.